Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to do some DIY Dollar Tree kitchen art. Super easy, super quickly. First thing we're going to use is this placemat, but you can use any placemat that you like. I'm just going to show you how to manipulate it. And I've decided to use this picture frame. It's a collage, but we're just going to use it like a square. And then I'm going to show you an alternate for this farmhouse picture frame. I have the gray one. You're also going to need your scissors and an X-Acto knife or box cutter or something along those lines, as well as a metal ruler for cutting down. Actually, it's not necessary, but it's be much easier if you did. Okay. So the first thing I decided to do was I took a picture of the placemat before I cut it. And yes, I'm going to cut it. What I wanted to show you is two ways to use this placemat. And I'm sorry about the lighting. I didn't adjust it before I started, which is bad. So I apologize if it's going to go bright and dark from time to time. But what I decided to do was to show you how, just because you have a square frame or a place to hang a square frame and you have an rectangular shape art, does not mean you can't manipulate it. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to move the knife and fork over to fit our frame. I really did like this square frame. I do like the different shape. A lot of times that you're always stuck with something that's either 8 by 10 or 11 by 14. This way you can manipulate it. I wanted to show you how. So the trick is to cut it right along the seam, the dark line seam of the side of the knife. And then the real trick is, a little artistic trick, is take the side of a Sharpie and you want to blacken in that cut edge. And what that's going to do is that's going to make it look less like a cut edge and more just like the picture. It's almost three-dimensional at that point. And then it tricks the eye a little bit. So I did cut it down a little bit too much there, but that's okay because I'm going to show you how to manipulate it. And because the wood is sort of like antique-y, whitewash, I didn't care that the wood on the cut piece was just a little bit darker than the area where it was going up to against the light piece, because that's the way it actually just was. I just slid it over. All right. And I've put it just as close to the words that I wanted it to be, that I know that it would fit in the frame. So I'm going to show you two things with this frame mat. I'm going to show you first, just using a regular scissor. I'm just using the edge of all of the openings just to cut a straight line to make it one giant mat. Okay. And I'm going to show you a couple of quick tips of how to personalize these and make them your own, or customize them, really, is what I meant to say. I'm going to use the ruler, and we're going to use a black Sharpie, but you use whatever marker you have. And we're just going to color in the whole line again. We're not just going to fill in the space, because the blacks will be a little different and the marker has a little bit of a shine to it. You want to go ahead and put it over the whole line just so it looks more uniform. All right, and I'm just showing you this one tip, and I'm going to show you that I'm not going to leave it this way at the end because it does close in the artwork a little bit too much for me. But I wanted to give you guys the option if you did want the contrast of a black and white mat on your art. It's not totally objectionable. It cuts in the letters a little bit. It just wasn't the look that I was going for, but I wanted to show it to you anyway. All right, and you want to do it to all four sides. Even if one of these sides was one solid black line, you want to still go over it with your Sharpie so you have that uniform blackness. Okay, because not all blacks are the same. You guys know that. All right, so now I'm going to show you how it looks like on this piece of art. And you can kind of see it kind of goes over the edge of the E a little bit, and a little bit of the L, and maybe a little bit of the fork. So it just really wasn't the look that I was going for. I also didn't want that stark contrast. I wanted something a little bit more subtle. I wanted just the darkness to be the letters and the frame. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take my ruler and my box cutter and my protective cutting mat, by the way, all from the Dollar Tree. Actually, the metal ruler's not, but everything else is. And I'm going to show you how we're just going to cut that black line off, okay? Now, the trick to this is to hold your ruler just on the white side, just to have a little skinny bit of the white line going through. This way, you don't have any extra black left over. Okay, so you want to just go just a tiny bit to the side of the black. Now, if in all fairness, unless you have a professional artist come in and say, oh, your mat is 1/32 inch off different, nobody's going to notice if it's that much difference. A 1/16th to an 1/8 of an inch, nobody's going to notice that. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Once again, Farmhouse never has to be perfect. It's supposed to be aged, antiqued, and homemade looking, right? So we're just going to do this around all the edges, and then I very carefully match the corners. That's just me being me. What I did is just make sure that I have used the X-Acto knife just to cut right into the corners. Okay, so you don't want to tear and have any rounded edges. And now I'll show you how it looks with the white mat, and that's the look I was going for. I wanted the contrast of the white mat against the black frame using the black and gray and white letters. I loved it. So I'm just taking a regular Sharpie, and I'm just writing on the edge of the mat just to show me where to cut the mat off. I wanted to make sure I had it fit nicely. This picture frame really does need this mat because the placemat that we're using is a little too short. It's not as tall as the picture frame opening, but it's okay because that's really what I wanted to do in the first place. So I do like a matted picture. I don't know what it is about it that makes me happy. So, and I've just cut off the edges. And like I said, you really can't tell when if you're up really close and you're twisting your head back and forth, you can tell the seam at the top of the fork, but you really can't just sitting, away from it. It just looks like the knife is a little bit of three-dimensional, which I really like. So now I'm just going to place it in, and then because it doesn't fit top to bottom, I'm just going to use a dot of hot glue. You can also use Scotch tape or whatever just to attach it to the frame, to the matting so it doesn't slide down. But that's up to you. You just adjust it how you like it. And like I said, I'm just using a dot of hot glue in one of the corners just to keep it. And I'm a weird person who puts all the paperwork back in. I don't know why. I guess in 5 years when I want to sell the frame at a garage sale, it's nice to have its original paper. How's that for a reason? And then I've clipped it all back in. And this one hangs, or you can stand it on a place stand. Okay? And that's that. That one is super easy. And the next one I'm going to show you is because I took a photograph of it first. I told you want to take a photograph of it first. I'm going to show you that I'm just going to print it out. I'm going to show you how my printer allows me to reduce the size very easily from its original into a 5x7. Now, I will let you know after I've done, the 5x7 from my printer isn't exactly the 5x7 from the picture frame, but that's okay because, again, we're going to put a little white border around it by gluing it to the paper, and I'll show you guys how to do that in a second. But I'm just showing you how I'm editing it with my photo software. This is just an iPhone 7. It's not just an iPhone 7, it's an iPhone 7. So this is just regular iPhoto, and it just has editing software built right into it. And you could change the colors if you wanted it gray tones. And I'm going to show you two of them. I actually have one that's a little bit of a sepia tone and one printed out in black and white on grayscale. So with my phone, my printer program, I have to email the photo to myself as a PDF and then I can print it. Don't ask me why. But that's what I'm doing here. So I'm showing you here how I could select my size, and I am picking 5x7, and I'm picking grayscale at first, and that's just going to print it only with black ink. So it's going to come out in a gray faded, like a gray and white sort of, well, grayscale is just that, like a gray and white print. And then I'm going to print it original, and it did take on sort of a sepia tone, and I'm going to show you both of them. But it just takes a minute, and I'm showing you this whole video only in double time. Both projects only took 25 minutes, including printing out the paper. So I think the longest time it took me to get off of the chair and go into the living room where the printer was. I'm just kidding. It didn't take that long. But now I'm showing you how I turn the grayscale off, and I'm printing another one, same size, just in color. Okay? And I've printed mine on a cardstock, not a cardstock, a cover stock, which is just like a little bit of a heavy paper. I think it's a cover stock is like 40-pound paper, 65-pound paper maybe. But anyway, there's cover stock and there's cardstock. But cover stock was fine. I just wanted it to have some sense of feel to it. But the Dollar Tree does sell photo paper every once in a while from Polaroid, and you could use that as well if you wanted to. I just wanted it to have a matte finish. Okay? And honestly, this printed into the frame, if you ask me, if I didn't know it was a placemat, I wouldn't have you know, I just think I found this really pretty print that I printed. But I just love it. And I did chose to stick the sepia tone in there just to have a contrast with the frame. But you can see here, the top one is just the grayscale, and the bottom one is the one that came out with the sepia tone. Sepia tone just has like a gold tone, like an antique looking finish on the picture. And because I felt like it already had an antique feel, this, you know, the antique vibe on this thing, that's why I just left it that way. All right. And now I'm just opening the frame. Now I wanted to let you guys know, when I was transporting this, been in and out of the clips, one of the clips snapped out of the frame, and it broke a little piece of the frame off, but that is not a huge deal because 3 of them was plenty enough to hold this little tiny piece of paper in. All right, so now I'm just showing you here how I design it, how I position it, and how I'm comparing it to the 2 pictures. The gray tone looks fantastic in it. It's just the exact same color as the frame, so there's no contrast there. But I did like the way it looked. I just decided to frame the other one. So first I was going to leave this like little white border around the outside, but then I wanted to go ahead and I'm just going to cut it closer, because I realized that I didn't really care for like the white and then the background of the picture, because it doesn't come with a mat, this one. So I was just going to mat it against the piece of paper that comes in with the printer. I'll show you what I'm going to do in a second. So I just cut it completely close to the edge of the picture, right around the edges. I cut all the white off. And this way I can center it on the white insert. So I'm just going to use the insert. I turned it over, and we're just going to put a little tiny hot glue down and glue it to the insert. The insert will also help keep it from moving around as much in the frame. Okay, so just a tiny bit of hot glue, double sticky tape, whatever you want to use. All right, and then I'm going to put it in as well as the frame. You always want to make sure that your stand-up frame is standing up in the right direction. And then close the clips. And that's it. I know that this was super easy and it was super simple, but I just thought they came out super cute. I wanted to show you how you can manipulate these placemats, even though they look like they're perfect pieces of artwork. And I also wanted to show you how to use them in other ways by using printing methods as well. So I hope you really liked this tutorial. I know it was short and sweet. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share with friends and family, anybody you know who might be interested in learning how to do these techniques. If you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And you guys, let me know what you like or don't like. You want more farmhouse stuff? Let me know in the comments down below too. I am catching up to comments, so you stay tuned. And as always, you take care. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Bye.